Howdy, folks. Greyhawk4x4 coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer. And we're going to do a blast from the past here. It is Beer 30. For those of you that have been a subscriber of mine or a watcher of mine for a while, you would know that I used to do a segment called Beer 30. And in that segment, what we would do is I would sit and have a beer. I would usually tell you, it was usually a craft beer, because that's pretty much all I drink. And maybe some homebrew once in a while, but for the most part, craft beer. And I would tell you about the beer, and we would just talk about some gaming topic that was of the day, that was in current news, and more, kind of a relaxed type of a deal where I would just kind of shoot the shit with you guys, and without any script or any of that stuff, without any set topic or whatever. And so that's what I'm doing today. Because it has been, today, this Monday, has been a particularly stressful day for me. I have been an essential worker the entire time that this quarantine thing's been going on. And I'm a pool guy, so I'm trying to get pools ready for whatever the next step is. And we don't know from day to day, of course, what the next step is going to be. And because we were shut down, we were like, okay, let's try and tackle some big jobs that we normally wouldn't have time to do because we're shut down. But now we got to get ready to open, and you get the picture. It's been fucking stressful. So, cheers. So, for this Beer 30, I thought, well, I can try and get your guys' opinion on something. And it involves our D&D campaign that we normally play tabletop back here. But we've been playing on Roll20 because of current affairs. And we had something this last Friday that occurred, and I want to make a disclaimer here and say I'm not coming off with this. This video is not me coming off with this as any kind of a complaint about anything or anyone or anything about the game. It's more to create a discussion about what occurred and just see some feedback and see where everybody falls, along the way. So here's what happened. And for those of you that may not be caught up on my campaign, I suggest you go back, and anything where in any of my videos where I talk about D&D campaign, those are updates, and you can go all the way back and you can get yourself caught up on where we are in our campaign. Now, for those of you that have been following, you know that I think the last time, that I did a video about our campaign, one of our player characters, he had found out that something had happened with his mother, and so we went back to our hometown, and sure enough found out that she had disappeared. And we all suspect, along with other powers that be in the city that we're in, all suspect a guy named Stratha Iola. Now, Stratha Iola, as I've said before, is a very imposing figure in the city. It is highly suspected that he is some kind of necromancer, but it is also known that he is extremely powerful, and so no one really wants to screw with him. So he kind of goes unchecked. And during our the last video that I talked about this, we had basically come up with the idea that through process of elimination, that more than likely he's involved with Duchovny, which is the player character's name, our magic user. Duchovny's mom, her disappearance, we believe, is absolutely Stratha Iola has something to do with it. So where we had left off with my last video was we were planning how we were going to attack his tower and see if we could rescue her. And his tower's in the middle of the town. It's walled. It's unknown what kind of defenses he has, all that. So I didn't do a video about the previous week's encounter, because mainly most of that was our strategizing about how we were going to get in, and we basically jumped the fence and got in, and had one fight with some undead creations of Strotha Iolas. They weren't anything that any of us were familiar with, and the DM critted me twice. My cleric, he had two attacks on me from 2 different creatures, and he rolled 2 natural 20s. That's my luck. Anyway, so I took some serious damage, and my character got his fucking ear ripped off. Because on one of the crits, it was there's another roll you make to see what happens, and it ripped my goddamn ear off, just like Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson. If you're old enough to get that joke, good for you. If not, look it up. So my cleric is, and he took like half of his hit point damage. Like, he's got like 60 some hit points, and he was down to like 30 something. He got nailed and lost an ear. And so that's where we left off. Well, this last week, we successfully made it into the tower. We found a secret door, and long story short, we get to a point where we can hear like a dinner party going on, and we decide, well, that dinner party might be full of a lot of dangerous people, so we may not just want to go bursting in there. And we go downstairs, and we get downstairs, and we find some type of cell block, for lack of a better term. And in each of these cells is some type of weird, conjured, fucking creature, evil. I mean, ultimately evil creatures. Because the DM's telling me as a cleric, I am feeling the cold from these creatures and so forth, and they are things that we have never seen before. Particularly, and then there was a guard down. We fought a couple guards, killed one, subdued the other, and the one guard was like, dude, whatever you do, he's like, please don't kill me, let me go, I'll tell you everything you need to know. And he's trying to tell us about these creatures that are down here. And he says, whatever you do, the one behind the gold door, you do not want to fuck with that one. You don't want to let that one out. And it's some kind of shadow, weird, fucking omnipotent creature thing. Who knows, And so we end up having a major battle down there, because there was another door across. It was like the workshop, the laboratory. And there was all kinds of weird manifestations in there, and we fight all that shit. We win. But the bottom line is, and here's where the rub comes. So, and I want to get some opinion here. Again, I'm not criticizing anything, because everybody plays their character the way they want to play it. And that's my point. So the magic user says, we somehow had gotten some kind of a message or something, that it might have been in his dream, that we were supposed to like infiltrate this and release the darkness, I believe, is what he was saying. And he interpreted this as that badass creature thing behind the gold door was what we needed to release. Now, I'm a cleric, a priest of Alcirion, who is a good deity. All these creatures down here, all I'm thinking is we're in the middle of a populated city. As a cleric, unless I'm confident we can defeat whatever we're going to release, we could be releasing untold evil upon the populace of this city. Now, as a cleric of Alcirion, I can't do that. I cannot have the guilt of being the one of releasing unspeakable evil upon a town when I could have not done that, when the other option was not to do that. So my character, Clevite, and the magic user, Duchovny, get into an argument about, he wants to release it. And I'm like, no, we're not releasing this shit, dude. We need to go back, go to the clergy, my church, and say, here's what we found. All this fucking evil, horrible shit down here, and we need backup. we need to, alert the rest of the town and say, yes, we've confirmed that Strotha Iola is a necromancer, and here's the shit he's got down there. And if we had a goddamn a way of taking a fucking picture, we would have to prove it. But of course, you don't in those times. But that was my idea. Was I came in here thinking we're on a rescue mission, and now all of a sudden you're talking about unleashing this shit that we have no idea if we can control it, defeat it, or not in a city. Now, if we were in the middle of the country somewhere in a dungeon, different story. We release it. We can't kill it. It kills us all, and now it's loose, but it's not in the middle of a populated city. It might just go, terrorize, some livestock or something. But we're not in the middle of a city. It's a different story. So my character decides, if you're going to release that thing, I'm out of here, man. I cannot be associated with it. And he leaves. And he fights his way out of the, I forget how, he goes around the tower, goes out the front gate. He fights something. He barely, almost dies. Thank God I rolled well enough to not die. I get to the gate and I book it out of there, and that's where we stopped. But so what I want an opinion on is, because the magic user ended up releasing that creature, the real badass one. And it apparently, we don't know this for sure, but what we can ascertain is it had told him, if you release me, I will kill Strotha Iola. And so the magic user releases him, and we hear all this, I'm already gone, my character's gone, but they hear all this screaming and shit coming from upstairs and whatnot. So at some point, it gets kind of confirmed with us that, yes, Strotha Iola, this thing did kill Strotha Iola or whatever, but we ended it there. So he did the right thing. It turned out the magic user did the right thing, and that thing did kill Strotha Iola. We still haven't found his mom, but so the question remains, though, because we stopped there, is this thing going to go on a killing spree now and take people's souls? What's going to happen? And I booked it off to the church to try and get some more clerics to go back and fight these things. And that's where we left off. So I guess the discussion part of this is, because it looks like we both did what our characters should do. As a cleric, I'm not going to, in a populated city, I'm not going to release evil. I'm just not going to, unless I know I can kill it and defeat it and banish it. If I know that, then that's one thing. But these things were like off the charts, freaking powerful and evil. So that was my decision. And then he did the right thing by releasing it, and it did take care of Strotha Iola, and we don't know where we go from there. So it looks like we both kind of did the right thing. But from a philosophical standpoint, what do you guys think? That's where I'm going to leave it. Because the player that plays the magic user was displeased with me playing my cleric and saying, I'm leaving. And he even expressed to the DM, is it normal in D&D for parties to split up like that, where somebody runs off, whatever? And the DM's like, it's D&D. Yeah, everybody plays their character, So the option would have been I could have stayed and to help the party, and the consequences could have been that had we released all these things and failed, and we released all this evil, and it just basically laid waste to a town, then and word spread, it could damage the entire Church of Alcirion, the deity that I follow. Even if it killed me, it's not my character, Clevite, that's not that big of a deal. But if it was to say, if word gets spread throughout the land that a priest of Alcirion was one of the people that released this evil, what would that do to the reputation of the church? So, anyway, it's a philosophical thing about playing your characters and consequences and, you know, loyalty to your party versus your morality, your character's morality and what they stand for and so forth. And so, again, I'm not criticizing anybody for anything or in any way, shape, or form. I'm merely just trying to get opinions here. So that was it was one hell of a session because we got a lot of stuff accomplished, and there was tension and there was conflict and all of that. So I guess that's what you want out of a D&D session, right? It was fun. And above all else, I would say it was fun. So there you go. That's now, if you've made it this far, you obviously like these beer 30s. I hope you do. Again, I didn't go into detail about this. This is Evolution Amber Ale. It's by Wasatch Brewery, which is a local brewery here in Utah. This is a very common beer here. It's like the Budweiser of Utah, basically, for craft beer, because you can find it pretty much everywhere. Any bar you go to, it'll be on tap, for the most part. I mean, you be exceptions, but for the most part. And it's in all grocery stores, liquor store, whatever, So, but it's not that cheap. I mean, it's for a 6-pack, it's like $9 or whatever. But it is a damn good amber ale. So, if you ever find yourself somewhere where you can get it, get a 6-pack of it. It's worth it. So, that leads me into the ending here. How do you guys feel about me bringing back the beer 30s? I stopped them because I have gout, and gout sucks. And one of the triggers to gout is beer. Beer is high in what they call purines, and it causes uric acid buildup in your body, and that's what causes gout. But I have been taking medication. I did the blood test. I got put on medication and basically your options are you either cut all this shit out, which is like beer and seafood and red meat, and I'm sure there's a lot of other good shit that has purines in it that you have to cut out, but those are the biggies. So you basically, for the rest of your life, you don't drink beer, you don't eat any seafood, no shrimp, no lobster, no crab, no tuna, none of that, no red meat, or you figure out, you take the blood test and they say, yes, your uric acid's up, here, take a pill, and you take a pill. So our DM had the same situation and he told me, he goes, it was either don't eat the things and drink the things I want, or take a pill. So he told me he decided to take a pill, and so did I. So we're going to see now. I'm easing into it. This is my second beer today, and that's all I'm had, just 2 beers. And I normally would only have one, but we were doing the beer 30, and I thought, I'll crack a second one for the show, and we'll go from there. So, do you guys like the beer 30s? Do any of you out there like beer? I hope so. I would think so. A lot of times beer and gaming go together. So, we can keep doing them, and I can just pick a topic at random. You guys can make suggestions and say, hey, for the next beer 30, let's talk about it could be anything. It could be, hey, tell us about what you did in the Army, or, tell us what you did in security, or, tell us what your favorite non-D&D MMO or role-playing game is, or what your favorite MMO, whatever. You can pick whatever you guys want, and I could do a beer 30 based upon suggestions. So, anyway, that will do it for this video, and we will catch you on the flip side. Cheers.